So earlier this year, we introduced to you the Porsche Classic Radio navigation system at Tech Tactics. Well, Porsche Classic down at Porsche Atlanta sent to us this radio navigation system, and we have a lucky winner here today, and we're going to install it in his 993. Now, this is not a do-it-yourself video, but this is a video so that you know where you can take your car and your radio to have installed. Obviously, a dealer is a natural choice, but some of us may not have a dealer nearby, or you may have a relationship with a professional car audio facility near you. So today we're at DSI Mobile Electronics, and we're going to go through and we're going to unbox this radio navigation system. We're going to show you all the parts that are in it. We're going to show you what you should look out for when you're doing an installation. So stay tuned. Okay, now that we've unboxed all the items out of the radio navigation system, I'm just going to go through and show you what's included. Obviously, you have the head unit, the classic look, but it's going to have a lot of the modern conveniences that you expect out of a newer system. You have the keys to remove the existing radios and a support piece. You have different types of buttons. If you have an older Porsche that you're putting it into, you want that chrome classic look, it has that. Or if you have the little bit more modern, just black plastic knobs, which I think we'll use those in this 993. Stylus and cleaning cloth to use the system. Looks like mounting Velcro. These are for a harness adapter. You have a micro SD card adapter, antenna for the GPS. Another wiring solution there. This is your media hub where you can plug in your iPod or USB, which will mount somewhere in the car. Of course, you have your quick start guide, user's manuals, and such. More cabling. And if you happen to have a Nokia system, which this car does, this 993, we had to actually buy a cable separate to this system to make the installation go a little bit smoother. So there we can adapt this system to the Nokia system that's in this car. So that's it for what's inside the car. So let's bring the car out back and start installing. Okay, we're now inside this beautiful Arena Red 993. As you can see in the dash, the original radio still resides. It's a CR210, and we're going to be replacing it with this classic radio navigation system. So as you can see, the looks of it matches the interior of the vehicle perfectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the old unit out and install the new one. Okay, so we're going to remove the faceplate. And interestingly enough, the keys that came with the radio navigation are not the keys that are used to remove the original head unit. So again, going to a professional radio facility, they'll have the keys that are required to remove the existing system. Now they're locked in place, and we're just going to simply pull the old head unit out. And there it comes out. There's a bit of resistance. The radio has been in there for quite some time. So one of the things you want to make sure when you're pulling out the radio is making sure that it does not drag across the bottom area of that dash, because you can certainly easily scratch up that beautiful dash. So take good care with that. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect all of the harnesses, and then we're going to swap. You see there the silver cage in which the current radio sits in. We're going to swap it out for the new cage and then slide in the new radio. Okay, so here we're going to give you a close look at how the keys work on the original radio. Now there's that little slot on the corner, and we're going to put in the key. And what it does is it pushes in those side clips. And when those side clips go in, that allows you to pull the radio out. Pretty simple, pretty effective, but having the right key makes all the difference in the world. Now, what is imperative for this install is having the factory harness intact. If your car has an aftermarket radio and these harnesses are not present, what you'll have to do is source an old set of harnesses and rewire your system so that it has the factory connections, because that's what we're going to use to connect the new radio. Okay, so now we're going to remove the cage that held the original radio. And the cage is held in by metal tabs that have been bent down to form fit around the dash opening. So we're going to use a little pick and pry up all those little tabs and remove the cage. Okay, here's the factory radio outside of the car. We've gone ahead and put the cage halfway on the head unit and replaced the faceplate. It's important, and I certainly suggest that you keep the old radio for later on in case you need it to maybe restore the vehicle and you want the original head unit back into the car. Also, what I'd recommend is if you have the radio code for the head unit, go ahead and take a piece of tape and tape it onto the head unit and write the radio code on the piece of tape. That way you'll never lose it. So the next step is to install the GPS antenna. Now, based on the owner's manual that came with the radio, they suggest that we mount it right here on the corner of the dash. Now, normally you would just go ahead and plop that on there, but what we've learned, and this is where having a professional install it comes in handy, is that we've learned that when they're mounted, the GPS antenna is mounted to a metal base, they actually get a little bit of better performance. So DSI Electronics had these little metal plates, and they have adhesive background that you can place that on the dash and then place the antenna. As you can see, it'll stick nicely and give a little bit of extra performance. We found that the 993 and all of the trim pieces and such on the car were so nice and tight, as you would expect on a Porsche. We actually had to run the wires for the GPS antenna into a little bit up to the boot of the vehicle. So as you can see here, what we had to do was remove the glove box and run the antenna wire behind the dash. Most people, or most cars, you can get away with running the wire down the side of the dashboard, but we thought in best case to do it behind the dash, because after a long period you might find that that extra wire stuffed behind the panel would create an extra bulge down the road. So again, this is a much cleaner install. Obviously it takes a little bit more work because you have to take the glove box out, but it's going to be a much cleaner installation. Okay, for the next step, we're going to go ahead and find a location to mount the microphone. Now, this microphone actually augments the microphone that is in the head unit itself. So in a normal situation, these microphones typically would be probably mounted up high somewhere near the driver's head to pick up the audio. But again, with the tight tolerances around the windshield frame trim and stuff, what we're going to decide to do is we're going to actually mount it in front of this little dummy panel here, and we'll tuck the wires nice and neat. Again, we're not putting any holes in the dash, no permanent fixes, but it'll be nice and discreet, and we'll mount it right here, and that should work out great. You can see below the dash on the tunnel, we've discreetly mounted the media hub. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the new cage for the radio into the dash. So like the original cage, it's a piece that gets slid in, and then what we'll do is we'll bend the tabs of the cage to secure it to the dash. Now that the cage is in, it's time to wire it up. Again, we're using the factory harness to plug into the new radio. Earlier I had showed you an extra cable that we bought that we thought we might need to wire up to the Nokia sound system, but fortunately this vehicle already had the cable existing. So we had done a test earlier and plugged it in, and we're all good, and we didn't need that extra cable. So check with your particular application to see if you'll need it. Now before we snap it into place, we're just going to power up the radio and make sure everything is working as expected. All right, looks like everything is good. Let's snap it into place.
Hi, I'm John Maiden. I'm the winner of the Classic Porsche Radio. I'm here at DSI in Maryland. They did the installation. Perfect job. Couldn't ask for anything better. Nice, neat, and clean. I want to thank Porsche and the Porsche Club of America for everything that they've done for me. Thank you again very much.